Hey, welcome to Foreigner in the Philippines. I had a letter, let me see, from Fred. And Fred wanted to know, he has some plans to come to the Philippines and get married. Well, let me just read you a little bit of the letter. Let me say, I made a plan to go back 2020 on March and marry the young lady I now have a good relationship with. Let me see, I know you went through a procedure with someone who wanted to marry and it seemed very difficult about the documents you need. The question I would like to ask is, would it be better to get the basic paperwork done in England via the embassy here, so when I return in March it would assist me getting the license sooner? Okay, so he's also worried that he has some of his family who are coming and are going to be at the ceremony, obviously. Okay, I'll tell you what our experience was, Beth and I, and along the way there will be other stuff that I think might be helpful for you. As to getting the paperwork done, the Philippines has its own paperwork, it has its own procedure, has its own judges, marriage licenses, and the way that it has to be done. If you're marrying in the Philippines, you're going to have to do it in the Philippines. But as for documents, bring every kind of documents, including the dog license if you like, because you can always not need it. But if you haven't brought it, then you will be required to produce it. Now here's one of the things that you must be prepared for when you get married in the Philippines. As with any procedure where you have to go to the government and get something done, the chances are that each time that you go you will be talking to someone different, and sometimes the requirements are not exactly clear, they're open to judgment. So you may go, let's say that you go on Monday, you may go on Monday, and on Monday they might ask you to bring the AB41. I'm inventing these numbers, okay? They might say, well, you're going to need the AB41. So you say, okay, we'll be back with the AB41. Now, is there anything else that we need? Absolutely not, the lady will tell you, and she will mean it. So, that's Monday, you go away, and let's say everything happens super fast, and on Tuesday you come back again. Great inconvenience, because you might be on, say, Bohol and need to go to Cebu. That involves getting up very early, getting the ferry, and all of the other inconveniences of doing this. So you arrive back with all of your documentation again in the AB41, and you speak to somebody else. Now somebody else looks at it and says, oh, you got the AB41, that's very good. How about the AB42? Well, we did ask about whether anything else was needed, and she didn't tell you needed the AB41 and 42? No, she didn't. Off you go then and get it. So off you go, and on Wednesday, we're in super speed time here, aren't we? Okay, on Wednesday you arrive back and you've got the AB42. So I'm not going to labour the point, but I think you must get it. You won't always get exactly the total efficient way of doing things, because things are done differently here, and you might go into an office that doesn't even have a computer in it. Okay, so that brings us to another point. You are going to arrive, and the documentation that you will have brought as a foreigner will be some evidence that you have never been married. I'm not quite sure how you would do that, but quite possibly if you have other family, I'm assuming that you have been married before. So, Fred, did you bring your decree nisi with you? And did you do what I did and just bring the top page certificate from the court saying Fred is not any longer in marriage with Doris. Now, is that what you brought? That's what I brought, and it said quite clearly, this is the in the High Court of Fort Myers. Terence is no longer married. He was divorced on such and such a date. And the lady said, where is the rest of it? Well, the rest of what? Well, the decree nisi. There should be, I don't know how many pages it was, 3 pages, and you've only got 1. Well, I say that was given to me at my request by the court in Fort Myers who did my divorce. Now, we need to see the decree nisi in total. So, at great inconvenience, I have to get in touch with my son who is in Fort Myers, and he takes a day off work and he goes down to the court and he gets a copy of the full decree nisi. So in order to avoid that, bring every single document. Bring originals if you can of your birth certificate, of the decree nisi. Get as much as you can notarized so that it's all legal and proper, and bring more than you think is necessary. I'm not making any comparisons when I say bring a dog license. Do whatever you have to do in order to think of everything. And then when you come here, your bride-to-be should have been along and got a cenoma. I think you spell that Cenomar, a cenoma. And this is a declaration by the Philippine government that your lady is not married. This is very important. Now, there is a seminar that you need to go to prior to getting married for those who are going to get married. And it's a 2-hour seminar with probably 2 hours like we'd had to suffer through, while people who are going to give the talk, and they'll have 2 or 3 people to give a talk, and they won't be able to get there until you've been sitting in the seat for possibly an hour or 2 hours. So be prepared to be patient. Now, patience is something that you will need in abundance. Never, this is a good idea anyway, it's a good recommendation, never get short in temper with people who are doing their job in an office in the Philippines. Okay? Don't do it. I know people who have gone in there and have been quite self-righteous about what's needed, and it will get them nowhere. In the end, not sure whether, well, you're coming from the UK, but in the US, if you are going through immigration, for instance, and the person who is interviewing you or your spouse-to-be gets it into her head or his head that he doesn't like you, he can refuse you. Now, he can refuse you simply because he doesn't like the particular perfume that you may be wearing. He will never have to justify that. He goes purely on a feeling. And if he is asked, he'll never be asked anyway, but just supposing he was asked, why did you turn them down? He can quite simply say, something about that couple didn't feel right to me. Fine. Thank you, sir. You did a good job. That's how it will be. Now, if you try to get impatient or in the least bit superior with someone who is doing a job as best you can here in the Philippines, it will get you nowhere. In fact, it may put you back several steps. Okay? So, patience. Be patient, be polite, do as you are asked. If they ask you for yet another form, say thank you, ma'am, go away, get the form and return, and all with a smile on your face, and you will get the thing done. Now, as I say, you'll have to go to a seminar, and it will be on getting married. And it may seem rather silly to you, but that's the way that it's done here. Now, once you have done all of these things, and it will be very easy to find out what the up-to-date requirements are, then you will be able to book a judge. Now, I'm assuming that you may be going for a civil marriage, and if you're going for a church wedding, then I'm guessing that the police, we went for a civil marriage. The priest will be able to advise you what's needed. And anyway, especially if it's especially if it's the Catholic Church, but of course if you're a divorcee, I'm not even sure that they will allow you to marry within the Catholic Church anyway, because they don't acknowledge divorce, and that's the law here. What they do is here they don't go for divorces, they go for what they call annulments, which will take quite a bit of money and quite a bit of time and even more patience. Okay, now just as a little extra piece of information that's not related, strictly speaking, to marriage, and that is if you are taking your bride back to the UK. Now, if you're taking your bride back to the UK will have its own requirements anyway, but the very least that your bride will need is a passport. And this may be something that as a foreigner you say, well, everybody has a passport, don't they? No, they don't. And you will have to jump through some hoops to get her a passport. Okay, now one of the hoops that you'll jump through, very surprisingly, will be another seminar. And this seminar is one that your wife will go through, or your bride-to-be will go through prior to marriage, and she will go, no, that's not true, sorry, we've already done the marriage thing. Now she's going for a passport. Sorry, little confusion there. So what she's going for now is a passport, and in order to get the passport she has to go, and this is a seminar that's specially for Filipinas that are going away into another country with their newlywed husbands. Okay, so they give them some advice on how to behave. I'm guessing, I don't know what's involved in that particular seminar, because Beth didn't do that seminar when she got her passport, because she had no plans at that time to go anywhere, and certainly as we are living and intend to continue to live in the Philippines, there was no need to go for a seminar advising her what to do when she goes abroad. So your bride will have to go through that seminar. Now they're not difficult seminars, just a question of putting your butt on the seat and listening to someone talk and possibly give, who knows, what may be some very good advice. So that's about it. If you really want to keep things absolutely covered, you might want to bring a statement of your address, the fact that you own a house, that you have a bank account. I don't know whether any of these things will be needed right now, but I got married nearly 5 years ago, so who knows? Things have changed. We've had a new president since then. So be prepared to bring things which you don't need, and be happy about that, not teed off about it. Okay, well, I didn't need to bring that, did I? Okay, at least you didn't need it, but you had it. Okay, so Fred, if I can be of any further assistance, I don't think that I can, but if I can, do get in touch. I understand that it's quite difficult to get someone into the UK at the moment, but that's only hearsay. I'm sure that you must have researched it by now, and you'll know what's involved. when it comes to the US, it's better to go for a K1 visa, which is the fiancé visa. Now the fiancé visa, for some strange reason, takes only 6 or 9 months and is much easier. The lady goes and joins her husband-to-be, her fiancé, and the only requirement is that she marry within 90 days, and then she will not have to return to the Philippines. Okay, well, in the case of marrying here, then it gets more difficult, because then the US citizen is trying to get his wife in, and for some strange reason it can take 2 years to do that. Don't ask me how that can possibly work logically. I have no idea. Surely if you're in if you're in a legally binding relationship, shouldn't that be easier rather than more difficult? I don't know. Well, anyway, that's all I have to say on that. I hope it helps, and good luck, congratulations, and Beth and I wish you every happiness in coming here and marrying. Now, in the case of if it did happen to be easier to take a fiancé to the UK, it's just supposing, I don't know this for a fact, but just for a moment let's assume that maybe it's easier to get a fiancé in. Right, then one suggestion is that you come out here, you arrange your church wedding, and you go and in a church, like in our little chapel that we go to, it's just a tiny little thing. Beth's brother is the pastor, and I'm sure that he would put a wedding on that had all of the spiritual meaning necessary to have a binding contract with someone you love. And what you could do is you could come and you could have a wedding here where all of the relatives will be able to celebrate the magical day with you, and then you could take your fiancé to the country of your choice and marry legally there. Okay, so that's a suggestion. Thanks for looking in. I hope all of this helps. Bye for now.